Welcome back to the show. Welcome to the Structure Talk podcast. We are doing this episode in video. That's our new thing. I think we're going to be recording, well, we always have recorded everyone in video, but we're actually going to share this in video format on our YouTube channel. So exciting, right, Tess?
Wait,
You're excited.
We have a YouTube channel?
Okay, you know what? It's not a YouTube podcast channel. It's really just the Structure Tech YouTube channel. That's where we're sharing it. What do you think,
Well,
Tess?
here we go. I guess we can't pick our noses anymore.
No. We're going to have to pause your camera or go off screen when you're doing that because people are going to know. They're going to call us out on it. All right. You know what that reminds me of, Tess? Have you seen any of these videos where this is the trending thing now? It's this little finger pointer on, you have.
Like I love that thing. I love it so much.
Okay. All right. Well, there's some home inspector who is doing this. Okay. If you don't know what it is, it looks like a tiny little hand, about twice the size of, well, it's about the size of a quarter. It's a little hand with a pointy finger. And then
it looks like a Mickey Mouse hand. It's like a
Mickey Mouse hand, a white gloved hand on the end of an extension pole. It's kind of like a radio antenna. It's retractable.
Yeah.
And we saw some home inspector doing this, and people on the team internally were like, Reuben, you got to order those in bulk. And I know they were just kidding, but too bad I ordered them in bulk. And I gave them, I put them in everybody's bin at the office. So like make some videos. And I was thinking this would be a good one for nose picking. I don't know. It just made me think of it. All right.
You know what? Shout out to I don't know if he listens to this podcast, probably not, but Paul Lee, Caliper Home Inspections. I think he's in Florida, but he's been using that little hand for a lot of his videos recently, and I just enjoy it immensely. Yes, so good. I don't know why. Well, it just makes everything so funny.
We're gonna shamelessly rip him off. Although no, my wife and my kids geeked out when they saw these because apparently there's a lot of videos with these going around right now.
Going viral.
It's going viral. So this is the hot topic. By the time this episode airs, it's probably not going to be cool anymore. But too bad. For now, we're going to try
his life.
Yeah, we're going to try to catch a little bit of that. Fun stuff.
All right.
Cool. Tessa, let me give a shout out to our show sponsors, Inspector Empire Builder, IEB. The topic we're promoting right now is Unite. It's the big conference. It's happening May 28th through May 30th. You do not need to be a member of IEB to attend the conference. You can just come. And so the topics, what's going on, a few things to talk about that is going to be happening at Unite. Number one, agent allies. How to turn real estate agents into consistent, high-level referral partners. Number two, business game changers. Small tweaks with massive impact. We're going to have Rob and Kat Lemoyne go into some real usable business adjustments to improve your efficiency and help make more money today. And then number three, become a rock star speaker. This is for home inspectors who want to build confidence or who want to build influence. And it talks about stage presence, storytelling, and communication, all skills that increase trust and authority. I would love to be there. I cannot make it. I haven't said that on the podcast yet. I meant to be there, but too many family things going on. I'm going to be gone too much the week before and the week after. You know what I did, Tess? You know what? I haven't done it yet. But I had another home inspector in Ohio who pretty much convinced me to go to a Spartan race. Did I already talk about that on here?
I remember you mentioned it to me once. Okay. I can't remember if it was on the podcast or not.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Tough Mudder, but it's longer and it's a little bit more intense. And I think it's like 14 miles or something. And I've never run that far in my life.
Gosh.
And I'm like this far from committing to it. I've started training already. And it's like right after Unite. So I'm going to be gone again. It's like, all right. I don't think I can.
Where is it
Unite.
at?
It's in Ohio.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
like Columbus there? What city? Just curious.
Right outside of Cincinnati.
Oh, nice. Okay. So you're gonna have to deal with some hills.
Yeah, apparently like major hills. It's at a
Yeah.
ski hill. Yeah. I don't know. I might be talking about this too soon. I haven't signed up for it yet. It was just on my mind while we're talking about that because it's happening right after Unite.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's always
We'll
like,
see.
you ever as a kid was watch that show Carmen San Diego, Where in the World's Carmen San Diego? It's like,
Yeah,
where in the world
my
is
kids
Reuben
did.
Saltzman? I just don't know where you're gonna be from week to week.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of travel involved with this. There, I'm fixing my mic. Okay. Or my video. Okay.
There
Because
we
I
go.
realized this is gonna be broadcast.
All
We're
all
recording.
50 people are watching this right now.
We've got tens of viewers, Tess. This is a big deal. Tens.
All right.
Tens of
All
viewers.
right. So what's our topic for the day, Reuben?
All
Obviously,
right.
we don't have a guest on
Thanks
today.
for getting us
What are
on
we
track.
talking about?
Thank you. Yeah. We are continuing what we were talking about 2 weeks ago, which is Q&A from my blog, basically. I like I
Mhm.
mentioned before, I get questions coming from people all over the country constantly. Hey, I've got this pain with my house. What do I do? And I don't know why. I don't know what's flawed in my character, but I feel obligated to answer complete strangers and many times give in-depth answers to people I will never ever meet again.
Because you're a good person, Reuben.
I
You are
don't
a
know.
good person. And you
I
know
don't
what?
know.
Let me just say, even if they don't get back to you, I'm sure that you taking time out of your day to answer their very specific questions with comprehensive answers is very much appreciated. I'm saying that today just because I had a little brush with an angel today too. Do we have time for a short little story?
Tess,
Taking us off track.
this is our
I
podcast. We can talk about whatever we want.
So I got in my car today and I was leaving the parking lot and heard this weird noise and something made me stop and pull over and go check my car. I'm like, I don't know what this is. It sounds a little weird. Looked and sure enough, I could hear this noise coming from the back right side and I was like, and I looked closer and right there, dead center on the top of my tire was this screw nail thing sticking out and I
Oh
could
no.
literally hear the air coming out. And I was like, "Oh no." And I'm I'm in a new location. I don't have a auto mechanic that I go to or trust here and I'm like, "What do I do?" So I just looked on Google Maps, googled it really fast, closest auto shop, saw it, looked like it had a few good reviews, but you never know.
Yeah.
And I drive over there and literally like in the mile and a half I'm driving, my PSI watch it dropped from like 38 to like 36 to 35 to 34.
As your
And
blood
I
pressure is doing the opposite.
yes, yeah. And I pull up to this auto garage and there's like one guy working there and it's pretty small and I'm like, "Hey, I just ran over a screw. Do you patch tires? Could you help me?" He's like, "Well, we don't patch tires anymore, but let me take a look at it." The guy took my car in, fixed it for me in like 10 minutes, and then he didn't charge me anything for it.
Wow.
And then I was on my way and I was like, that was the best possible scenario that could have happened. I felt so grateful for it. So what
Yeah.
I'm saying, Ruben, you're paying it forward with all those responses that you write and the time that you take to help those people. I'm
That's
sure
what
they're
I'm hoping
appreciating
for.
it.
I
You
hope so.
are. You
I
are.
hope so.
Yeah, you are.
Well, and so
Anywho,
I figured, as long as I'm taking the time to answer these and we get all these questions, these are real questions people have. Let's talk about them on the air. Let's cover
let's
it.
do it.
Okay.
I think that a lot of these questions are really good questions. And I think last podcast we talked about one question for maybe 20 minutes. So they're
Yeah,
not
that was
always
the one
super
where you're like, Reuben,
straightforward.
you gave him some bad advice. You should have said this. And I was like, yeah, you're probably right.
Go back and listen if you want to hear. But yeah, no, a lot of times it's not always easy and it is kind of like a conversation sometimes. So I don't know how you respond to all of these.
Well, you know what, Tess? I was leading it last time. I want to have you read some of these. We obviously don't do any show prep, but we got a rough idea what we're going to talk about. Seriously, yeah. But
Seriously.
let's have it in your voice, and I want to hear some of your answers too.
Well, here we go. Okay, so we'll start off. This one came in the beginning of this year. Hi, I had a question about a rental, and if we could make a bedroom out of a room that currently has a bifold door to the furnace room. I found on your website that it says below, and then quote, this is quoting of you, Reuben. You can have a furnace installed in a bedroom as long as it's a direct vent installation, or you can have it tucked away into a separate room opening to the bedroom as long as you have a solid weather stripped self closing door. If you go that second route, you also need to have combustion air added to the room. End quote. And then this person writes, "What do you mean by combustion air added to the room?" Question mark. And then this last sentence, which is my favorite, it says, and also it's an octopus furnace. So it allows for that type, literally is what they said. I think they just mean, is that allowed?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does it allow for that type? Thanks.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
All right. So
first thing,
we got
it's
a
an
few things to
octopus
talk
furnace?
about here.
Yeah. Yeah. What? That's okay. That's my first reaction. An octopus furnace. Yikes. Okay. So the gigantic furnace that's over 100 years old and takes up probably the entire basement.
Most of the room. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've got basically this furnace room, and then they also want to have a bedroom, but the bedroom is going to have a door that opens to this furnace room. And said door is a bifold door.
Bifold door.
And it's going to an octopus furnace. So how can they be legal? That's what they're asking. Right? All right. Where do you want to start, Tess?
Well, their first question is, what do you mean by combustion air? And can they have an octopus furnace? Those are their questions. So combustion air added. Listen to our last podcast. We talk about combustion air for a basement extensively on that one. But just a duct that brings fresh air into the mechanical room, like a 6-inch duct that allows for the combustion appliances to work properly. That's one thing that you need to have. But the biggest thing is just the potential safety issue of having a giant octopus furnace on the other side of a bifold door, which would not be recommended at this point. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, and you know what? Why don't I just share my screen? I pulled it up while you were reading the question here. And so if anybody is watching the video, they can kind of follow along. I'm just going to share my, well, okay, this is great podcast here. Okay, here we go. There's my screen. In the fuel gas code, this is in the national code, it's in the Minnesota code. We got a section, it's section 303.3 of the Minnesota fuel gas code. If you're looking national, it might be a different section. But it talks about hazardous locations for appliances or prohibited locations for appliances. And one of the places that you cannot have a gas appliance is in a sleeping room. They say that's a hazardous location for an appliance. But then they go on to give you a bunch of exceptions, and they say you can't have it there, but if you want to do these things, you actually can have it there. So, and I'm pretty sure we did a whole podcast episode on this, but so we're going to review it really quickly. One of the exceptions is if it's a direct vent appliance and it's installed in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions and all that. And a direct vent is basically a sealed appliance. It takes all of its combustion air from one pipe directly connected to the outdoors, mixes it with the fuel, burns it, and then it exhausts all of the air back to the outdoors and never communicates with the rest of the air in the house. If you got one of those furnaces, you can put it anywhere you want. You can put it in a kitchen, in a bathroom, in a bedroom, whatever. So that's cool. But they don't have that. They've got the gravity furnace. And it could be any other type of furnace. It could be a gravity. It could be in, a traditional 80%. Doesn't matter what it is. If it's anything other than direct vent, sealed combustion. There is another exception, and it's the one that you had quoted, where I said you can put it in a bedroom or in a room that's only openable to the bedroom, as long as it's in a separate area, like they're describing, and you have a self-closing gasketed door separating those two rooms. So the door's always going to be shut. You don't have the potential for someone to leave that open. That's perfectly acceptable. It is cool to do that. And what does that door look like? I've seen a handful of them. It basically looks like an exterior door. It's got self-closers like you would have between a house and a garage. And then, like you described, you got this insulated tube dropping down into the room, providing combustion air. And you said a 6-inch combustion air duct. And I know you said 6-inch because that's what we always see. And if you look at the charts that they've got in the code books, if you've got, I believe the number is up to 150,000 BTUs of heating equipment, which is going to cover just about every house. I mean, if you figure you got a 100,000 BTU furnace and a 40,000 BTU furnace, you're only at 140,000 BTUs, and that's a big furnace. I think if you got up to like 150, then you can get away with a 5-inch combustion air duct. But if your combustion air duct is going to be flexible material, which they all are, you need to increase it by 1 inch. So you need a 6-inch duct. And that's why we always see 6-inch ducts in houses. So there's a little bit about why you were inclined to say a 6-inch duct.
Well, thank you. I forgot about all those details. We went into the weeds there, and that is good information, Reuben. Thank you for that. Okay, so their two options are: one, they can put in a new furnace. They can remove the old Octopus one, put in a high efficiency sealed combustion, or option two, put in a self-closing door with weather stripping, completely seal that room off, and they'll probably need to add combustion makeup air for that space as well.
They will certainly need to do that. And it's not that big of a deal. I mean, you got to put a big hole in the side of your rim joist, like a 6-inch hole. And then you got this little terminal at the outside that lets air in. It's weather protected.
Yeah.
It's got a little screen on there so you can't get mice coming in. And then it's just this insulated trunk, this duct that drops down to the floor. Maybe you put a J on the bottom or something. Not that big of a deal. Toughest part is just putting a hole in the side of your house. Right?
You know, I know this, I guess so. For you, Reuben, yeah. All you need to do is cut a giant hole in the structure of your home in your fridge.
You're making fun of me, yes.
Just like an hour-long project, you know? For the average person, it would be multiple days and multiple trips to Home Depot, probably. But what I was gonna say was, I understand this is a rental property, so they probably are on a budget, or they want to do this as efficiently and affordably as possible. However, taking a step back, okay, yes, it's possible, and these are ways they could do it. You have a Octopus furnace. And that system is so antiquated and can have lots of potential issues with just like leakage of exhaust, gas, and combustion safety issues in general, which is also a concern if someone's sleeping down there, even if you do have a self-closing door. And just the overall efficiency of it too. I mean, those systems are like what, 50% efficient?
Yeah,
like
50 to 60, yeah.
Yeah, and a high efficiency furnace is going to be like 95+% efficient. And so, I mean, if you're going to be keeping this property for a long time, I'd say the way I would go would be just replace that old furnace, put in a high efficiency furnace, then you have a furnace that is saving, well, I guess you're saving the tenant money on utilities if the tenant is paying for that. But it's just at some point you're going to have to replace that furnace. It's a matter of time, and why not now?
But I mean, we talk about this on the podcast. You go replacing that Octopus, you go high efficiency. Now you're losing a bunch of air changes, Tess. Now what else is going to go wrong?
You change one thing and you impact a lot more. I
Yeah.
know. Hopefully you've got, exhaust ventilation installed in this house, because you're going to need more mechanical ventilation after you replace this old furnace that was allowing these air exchanges to happen. You bring up a good point, Reuben. Yes, it will trigger a chain of changes in how the house operates and how air and moisture moves through the house. So
But they
it's a good
didn't.
point.
They,
It's a
they
good point.
didn't even say where they are. I mean, if they're in Minnesota, everything you just said is very applicable. But I mean,
Yeah.
if they're down in Texas, does any of that even matter? I mean,
No,
do they even
I
care about this? Like,
depending on where you're at in Texas, I don't think you have a furnace.
yeah. All right, fair point. Yeah,
But
true.
yeah, good. I understand what you're saying though. Yes. I don't know. That's a good question.
So our answer is it depends.
As always.
All right. All
Hopefully we
right.
made that crystal clear for
Yeah.
that
No,
person.
we did a good
Okay.
job. We answered the questions they asked.
We did. You
Yeah.
did.
It was a
You
team
did.
effort. All right. Okay.
On to the next.
All right. Ask me the next one, Tess.
Okay. What's the next one, Reuben? Do you want me to read it or do you want to read it?
Go for it.
Go ahead.
I'll tell you the answer because you're gonna
Okay.
defer to me for the answer on this one.
Oh, yes, I am. Okay. Uh Hello. In your quote Foundation Repair Secrets podcast, you talk with RK Bob Brown. It was mentioned that there was a Minnesota company listed in his directory. I was just wondering if anyone there has had any luck finding or contacting the company RLM and Associates, or if you have recommendations for foundation engineering companies.
Nope. Next question.
All right, we're making up for last time here.
No,
Next.
seriously, that RLM and Associates, it's listed on his website as being, the contact in Minnesota. They are not a
Yeah,
Minnesota company. They have zero Minnesota presence. I don't know why
really.
they're listed on his website. I have not found any kind of geotechnical engineer here in the Twin Cities. Sorry.
Oh,
It really is a short and sweet answer. Short and bitter answer.
short and
No.
bitter. Did you do some research and actually like look and do some digging after our podcast with RK Bob Brown?
5
N-
minutes.
Okay.
I
All
did
right.
not spend a ton of time on it, but I did do a
Yeah.
little bit of digging. I Googled the
Yeah.
term and I looked up a few companies. I can't find anyone. I won't say I did an exhaustive search, but I did as much
Yeah.
as I was willing to do.
Well, and after that podcast, it kind of struck me that there's a need for engineers that, can assess those foundation issues and it's not a company that's trying to sell a repair,
Yeah.
and so I guess that seems like a hole in my mind. That there's a need, but it's not being fulfilled really. So
Yes.
I don't know. Does Structure Tech have any recommendations? Do you guys still refer clients to uh, structural engineers
Yeah. Yeah,
for
we do.
large cracks? Okay.
Yep. Yep. There's one CBS.
Mhm.
Gosh, now I can't remember what
Rob
it stands
Vasallo.
for. Rob
Is that
Vasallo.
with?
He's been on the
Hmm.
podcast.
Yep.
Yep.
We've had shout out to Rob. We've had Rob on.
Awesome. And then there's another one, Criterium. And it used to be Paul
Okay.
Shimnowski was the guy. I'm sure he's been on the podcast too. He sold the company, and I actually
Yeah.
just recently met with the new owner of the company, and he's an engineer, and Paul's still on
Okay.
the team. So we got a couple of good companies
Okay.
that we trust. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Okay. Moving on. Are we good to move on? Next question?
Yeah, let's move on. And we'll omit the address here, of course.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, your company did a home inspection. It's a house in St. Paul. We just had our chimney rebuilt from the roof line up. My understanding is the chimney needs to be 3 feet tall from where it penetrates the roof and 2 feet taller from any nearby peaks. Our chimney penetrates the roof at the peak ridge level. The contractor's saying it only needs to be 2 feet from the penetration, not 3 feet, which is correct in code. Also, is it measured to the crown or flue tile that comes out of the top?
Okay.
Reuben,
So,
take it away.
all right. So he is correct. His understanding is right. You got a chimney coming out of the roof. It needs to be at least 3 feet above the roof surface. Definitely. And then the 2 feet, he's saying it needs to be 2 feet above anything else that's nearby. And you measure out 10 feet. It needs to be 2 feet higher than any other things on the roof, any roof angles, slopes, whatever, within a 10-foot radius. And that's so you don't get like these wind eddies coming along over a ridge and then pushing exhaust gas back down. Yep, he's completely right. As for his contractor saying it only needs to be 2 feet, I don't know where he's getting that from, because let's just take a look at what the code says. It's real simple. This is a national code. It's also in Minnesota. It's section R1003.9. And it says chimneys shall extend not less than 2 feet higher than any portion of the building within 10 feet, but shall not be less than 3 feet above the highest point where the chimney passes through the roof. Plain and simple. So I don't know what his contractor's looking at or thinking about. He's not understanding how the code is written. There are a million illustrations out there showing exactly what this is. I mean, if you go to your Google machine and you type in, show me an illustration of the code required chimney height, you're going to get a diagram that shows you exactly what we just talked about.
Yeah. Well, I feel like an idiot because when you read that, it means nothing to me, and I'm confused too. I'm a visual person, so I got to pull up the illustration and then it makes sense.
Sure. But the one question he had that I could not answer, I had to turn to our chimney guy, Scott, for the official ruling on this. Well, he said, also, is it measured to the crown or flue tile that comes out the top? Which one is
Very
it?
specific. Well, I was very impressed by your response to this, so now I know you had to do a little research here.
Yeah. I was not able to just fire off an email. I sent him an email like the following day after I had my facts straight.
Wow.
But I'm glad he asked, because I didn't know. Now I know. All right. Drum roll. The answer to the question. You measure to the top of the clay tile flue.
Okay.
There
All right.
So,
very interesting.
Roof surface,
Learn
top of
something
clay
new
tile.
again.
All right. Now, Tess, someone's going to write in and they're going to say, okay, it's on a sloped roof. Do we measure from the bottom or the top of the slope? I don't know. Maybe the middle?
Consult with your roofing professional. Actually, better yet, probably check with the city inspector who's going to come out and approve it.
Probably the authority having jurisdiction.
Yeah. There you go.
They're always
Ask them what they want. They always are.
By definition, they are the authority. If they look at the code book and their interpretation is 3 feet means 2 feet, they're right in their city.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny how that works, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Good
right,
times.
that was an easy one. Oh, this next one, Tess, I don't know. We're going to have to shorten this one down.
Well,
this is like going to take the rest of this podcast to read the question.
Okay, well, I'll recap it because I read it recently. Unless you want to. You want to recap?
No, recap it, please.
Okay, so there's a woman that lives in California and she's in a rental. She's renting and she has a wall furnace, like a gas furnace heater. And it sounds like it's been tested by a few different people. 3 different licensed HVAC companies have come out to check for a gas leak, but also carbon monoxide issues. And 2 companies tested for carbon monoxide. Both ran the unit for 30 plus minutes and set up monitors outside of the vents, and both tests came back positive as high as 11 parts per million.
Okay, now let me pause on that, Tess. Just so we don't have to come back to it. As home inspectors, we don't need to do any type of carbon monoxide testing, but at Structure Tech, we use combustion analyzers, we test furnaces, and we always test for carbon monoxide in the flue. Now, it sounds like this company, they're not checking in the flue, they're checking in the vents.
Vents.
Like the air coming out, not.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah, it's the supply register.
The supply register, although there is only one supply register in a wall furnace.
Right outside of the furnace.
Yeah, and they're saying there's carbon monoxide getting put out into the room. Got it. Okay?
That's
Just
how
wanted to
that's how
clarify.
I'm reading it.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, so the HVAC company was adamant that even if the gas leak could be fixed, the CO levels are a concern and the whole unit should be replaced. But the landlord is skeptical because they think that the HVAC companies are just trying to sell them a new furnace. Um, and then to make it more complicated, I guess there was a local gas company that came out to test it, inspect it, and they only found 1 part per million after running it for 10 minutes. And they red tagged the furnace because of the gas leak. But they weren't concerned about the carbon monoxide. So she's got all these different numbers, all these different people telling her different things. She's got a landlord who doesn't want to take the gas company seriously. It's been run tagged for a gas leak, but not for CO. And she just doesn't know what to do about this. So
Yeah.
I don't know why she's confused.
All right. So Tessa, what do you tell her about carbon monoxide coming out of the vent into the room?
You don't want to have any carbon monoxide coming out of the vent into the room. You should have 0 parts per million. Anything more than that is not good. So that is a
Correct.
safety concern. Any type of carbon monoxide is a safety concern.
Yeah.
And that's a harder issue to fix than a gas leak. A gas leak can be fixed pretty easily, usually.
And this person's saying it's a home built in the 60s in California. I would bet you just about anything that wall furnace is original to the home.
Yeah,
They
definitely.
don't make those anymore, do they? I mean,
No, I don't think so.
I don't think I've
I'm
seen a
guessing
wall
it's
furnace
over
newer
60
than
years old.
40, 50 years old.
Yeah.
So this is surely an original dinosaur of a wall furnace.
Yeah.
So what should she do?
Vintage. Well, I guess she's gonna have the landlord get on her side about, if it were me, we're just replacing this thing because it's not safe with the carbon monoxide. I mean, you could
No.
try and have companies come out and try and fix why it's leaking carbon monoxide or producing too much carbon monoxide and coming in the room, but that on a piece of equipment that old, they're known for having that issue. It just makes more sense to just have it removed.
Yeah.
So, uh, I don't know. You want to try and have your landlord replace it, and I don't know how you do that if the landlord doesn't want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you've already had 2 HVAC companies come out and tell you it had carbon monoxide leaking out. Do you really need a third company to come out and tell you that it had carbon monoxide leaking out? And you've also had another utility company red tag it for another reason. So for me, I think that's a pretty strong, pretty strong evidence there to give to your landlord. It's been red tagged for the gas leak and it's got high carbon monoxide coming out and it's not safe. What more do you need?
Case closed. Yep.
I mean,
That's what I told her in my email too. Yeah.
did you? Yeah.
Yep. No bueno.
Yeah. We wish you luck. I know that that can be a battle and it's tough when you're a tenant, but hopefully you can convince your landlord. I don't know what kind of laws are in place for renters in California, but this is a life safety device or a life safety issue. So
Yeah.
hopefully you can get that replaced.
I don't know why a landlord would be fighting this. Like, you don't want to kill your tenant. I mean, you get some kind of wrong. I don't know. I'm not an attorney. I shouldn't go here. But it just seems like there could be a lot of liability on you if you've had a couple of professionals come in and say this is a safety issue, and you say, too bad, we're going to leave it. What are you doing?
Exactly. My only piece of advice for her would be get all that stuff in writing and submit it to your landlord so that they can't deny that they didn't know that it was an issue. Yeah, and actually just talking about this, our friend, home inspector Skip Walker, we've had him on the podcast to talk about things before, but he's been involved in some cases, I think, out in California that have involved some deaths from this exact situation. So it is a serious issue, and if your landlord needs to talk to another person, maybe that's a good resource.
Yeah. Good professional out there. Talk to another home inspector in your area.
Yeah. Yep. An unbiased third party.
Yep. All right. Should we do one more, or should we call it a day? What do you think, Tess?
You know what? We still have a few more questions. How about, for the sake of our listeners, we end this one? I think it's a reasonable amount of time, and we can come back and continue with I guess this is part 3.
We will resume with part 3. Okay. And just a reminder to our listeners, if you've got questions, we'd be happy to talk about it on the air. You can email us. It's podcast@structuretech.com. Happy to answer your questions, and we read all the emails. And we appreciate you listening or watching.
Watching? Reuben,
Yes.
can you wave with a little hand?
Oh, thank you. This is great. It's a great
That's
pod.
the pageant wave. I didn't know you knew how to
That
do
was
that.
the pageant wave. Yes,
Elbow,
you
elbow,
knew it.
wrist,
Yes.
wrist.
Yes, you lead with the wrist. I've seen how they do it. All right. Great pod. Thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you next week. Same place.
Bye.